So this is the administrative portal. Everything is cloud-based. This is a software as a system here for software as a subscription, product. So that everything's going to be cloud-based using our administrative portal. And then we offer Windows and iPad applications for field inspections. Today, I'll be demoing the Windows version of Streamline's application. So on the left-hand side, you have a department message board. Here you can announce things that you want your inspectors to know as they log into the system. So this area over here on the left is reserved for your information. The entire portal will be white labeled to your department, so the logo will be changed to you. You can change the background photo here to really make it your own. The information in the box on the right is reserved for Streamline to provide information to you. So as you can see here, this gives us our release notes from when our last administrative portal was released or updated on August 17th, so just about 10 days ago, when our last Windows Mobile release number is, as well as our iPad release number. So these are important to make sure that if you're using Streamline, that you're using the most up-to-date version of not only the Windows or iPad version, so that you know that if there's any kinds of bugs or performance issues, those have probably been fixed in that most recent update. And then you can check the release notes here with one click. And lastly, send us a support request link directly from this portal. We want to make it easy to make you feel supported by Streamline. So when we log in, this is our property search grid. This is really the powerhouse of our administrative portal. If I know that my apartment complex I want to go to today is on Citrus Falls Road, I can search in that street number or street name, and it'll pull up just my addresses in Citrus Falls. So if you have a search that you go to often, I can now save this search as a template. So I can go back to that search time and time again. I can also one-click export this screen to Excel or to a CSV document. So if a building inspector wants to know exactly the apartment numbers for this street, you could give that to them. To clear those out or to know that you've got a search applied, if it doesn't look like it's your full data set, we give you that warning right here in the middle. And that's important because we use what we call roaming profiles with Streamline. So if I were to do my work at one computer at the station and log out, walk away, and then log into another computer in a different part of the station, wherever I left off, that's what's going to show up on this screen. So you might not remember that you had some filters applied to the grid, especially have a huge data set. And so it's important to remember that filter is right there in the middle. You can delete those off one by one by clearing off each street or property use, or down here at the very bottom of your properties grid, you can see that I've got my filters that begins with 429 and the street begins with Citrus. So I can clear those off and it'll zoom me back out to my entire data set. We also use what we call a column chooser in this case. So since we mentioned that this is a roaming profile, we have the ability to change this grid and put in columns here that maybe more suits the searches that I do, or instead of the searches that one of the inspectors does. To do that, I right-click on any of those column headers, and I can go to column chooser. So as you can see with this list that pops up on the right, any of these data sets that we're collecting for each one of these properties is able to be dragged and dropped into this query. So let's, for example, pull over phone number. So I'm going to put phone number as my very first item. You can now see that I've got my phone number columns here. But maybe I don't need my last inspected date, so I would actually hide that column. And you have the ability then to really kind of build this grid out so it looks the way you want it to. Maybe I want my property ID at the front, so I'll just drag that phone number over one and put my property ID at the front. So let's go into a property and see what we have to work with here. If I go into a property, if I search into this neighborhood of Wadesboro, North Carolina, and I click Edit Property for the CVS Pharmacy, when I get into my detail screen, it will show all of the different data sets that we have that we can collect on each one of these properties. The property ID is going to be a mandatory field that is assigned by Streamline when you develop a new property. However, this is completely customizable by you as well using alphanumeric. So if you have a certain schematic that you use for property IDs, you can adjust that to fit your system. Any of these blue arrow drop downs have the ability to, what we call lookup field driven. So if there's nothing in them, or if what we have pre-built in the system when you purchase Streamline is not accurate for what you need, you get to change these and edit these so that they do match your department or your agency settings. A good one is like building class down here in the middle. We only have new building class and non-billable as an example in this data set, but maybe you have a full list of different building classifications, and that drives how the inspection is going to be done. So you can build that lookup table out. And so any of those drop downs as we go through the program are going to be those lookup table driven. I do want to bring your attention right here in the dead center of category. We have what we call commercial, community risk, or both. So Streamline originally started as a commercial occupancy inspection program. It was really recently developed and pushed into community risk reduction. As we move our prevention efforts into residentials for smoke detector blitzes, Red Cross smoke detector installations, battery installations, etc., we wanted to track that information just the same. So this does guide how our checklists are built and where that occupancy shows up throughout the system. So you can choose commercial, community risk, or both. We're going to not save any of the changes that I made. It gives you that warning so that if you move on, you can save anything so that information is not lost. Contacts and phone numbers, unlimited amount for each occupancy. Keep building away, keep storing away. You can track down to call records so that if you've got something that's getting a little messy and you just want to track every time you contact somebody at a property, you can go down to and track call records for every time you talk with somebody. If we click any of these papers with the pen, that means edit, and it pulls us into a little bit more information about that person, and that'll be throughout the system as well. So we can see that we've got our CVS as our business name, address, email. Email is important if we have those, because that's how we're going to push out reports in the field. If you don't have an email right now on the administrative side, don't worry. That, along with every other one of these fields, is editable in the field on the iPad or Windows application, and you don't even need an internet connection to save it. So moving on to the notes. Notes in this section are going to be internal facing notes. So if you have a restaurant that was an old bank, you could put that there was that's been converted from an old bank, excuse me. You could put that there's a vault in the kitchen, right? Maybe they've got wine stored in the vault. And so that's going to be just internal facing notes. Documents is a place for you to store any files that you want to add. In this basics tab, we have our tier 2 documents, our spill plans, general documents, just kind of a catch-all for anything you may want to add, and then floor plans for pre-plans. Unlimited amount of files that you can add to this section. So again, keep storing away and keep making sure that you track what you want to track within Streamline. As we go to our inspections tab, you can see that these are all of the past inspections that have been completed on this occupancy. If I click on the sideways facing arrow to make it a drop down, I now can see all related inspections. So this first one was my annual inspection. Now this is my related inspection, which is going to be my re-inspection that you can see here in this column. That's my first re-inspection on that property. This will also show any violations, permits, the responsible party that was tracked at that inspection, and more. We'll schedule a one-off inspection in a minute, but right now we're moving into permits. So Streamline also has the ability to issue and track permits automatically. Again, you can issue permits in the field as you're doing the inspection. So maybe you've got that open flame permit, or you're doing a sprinkler install inspection. So this one was that sprinkler install. It issues a permit number. Permit numbers are hard-coded by the system at this time. They are not editable by the department. It does show if there's a fee associated with that property permit, and then the related inspection also for that permit. As we move down into risk management, First, we're going to have our informational items. So every one of these sections down here at the bottom is really going to be driven by those lookup fields, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation. So in this area for informational items, this is kind of that catch-all of what we want to just add to the occupancy. So in this place, I've got first engine placements and roles. If I click on add, you can see I've got a few other item codes here. Maybe we want to track disabled employees or children. If they're on like the second or third floor of an office building, you could add that information there. And so since, again, our trick to give us the idea that these are lookup table driven is that blue drop down arrow. So these, again, are going to be built by you for your agency so that they match up for what you want to collect. Alarm systems is exactly what it sounds. So in this case, it's going to be for the main fire alarm system is what I've got built. I can track the alarm panels all the way down to detectors for each one of these alarm systems. I can even track events. And so if you want to track, say, your annual inspections on that fire alarm, or if it's a false alarm, and you want to track false alarms, you can do event types and event dates. And once again, anything you want to track on that fire alarm, you can code it because of that blue drop-down lookup table. The red bar on the right signifies that those are required fields should you want to add something in that category. I really like the reset code here, *1234, whatever it is that you find. So as you update your records in the field on the Windows or iPad application, it's going to sync back and push back to your administrative portal. So we offer read-only files for departments so that your company officers can get in and look at this database so they can get in real quickly and see what that reset code is. I know that would have saved me hours in the middle of the night sometimes waiting for property management to come for an apartment building that I know we had just inspected, but we didn't have a good way to track that alarm reset code. As we drop down to extinguishing systems, you can see here that I've got this set up as a main sprinkler system. And as we edit or change the type of sprinkler system that it is, or extinguishing system, excuse me, the questions are going to change here in this section to be pertinent. So you're only tracking the pertinent information, whether it's a sprinkler system. If we switched it to a non-water-based system, it would ask me how many tanks we have for those kitchen systems, for the kitchen hood systems, where they're located, things like that. In the fire department access section, this is actually a very powerful tool. So if you're currently using the Knox system, we can upload a secure file from Knox so that your serial numbers, part numbers, etc., come into this fire department access system. So that information is then all stored here in the fire department access. I do like to add in the comments where that Knox box is located, for example, because it might not be right by the front door every time. Maybe you've got it stuck by a back door or a kitchen entrance or a side door. Maybe it's blocked by a plant or something. So in the comments, I just like to put where it's located. So again, as a company officer, if I can know that I see the Knox sticker on a building but can't find it, I could come in here with that read-only file and find where that Knox is at. Backup power systems is exactly what it says and means. So in this case, I've got a solar panel built. Maybe you have a generator, so it's an automatic generator that switches over. So again, these are going to be driven by you. We've just got built out, for example, generators, solar panels, the new Tesla wall batteries, uninterruptible power supply, and then how the power is transferred, right? Maybe it's delayed or it's uninterrupted transfer. Fuel type, important for generators, whether it's natural gas or if it's diesel fuel, and things like that. So you can track all of that within the system here. General building systems, our buildings are getting smarter and smarter every day as we're putting up new construction. So what we think of is for general building systems that we've got built out are things like elevators, climate control systems, where you've got positive pressured stairwell systems so that that smoke stays out of the stairwells, or smoke evacuation systems for large atria, right? If the smoke's at the ceilings, you can sometimes have that switch to turn on those evacuation systems so you can track that. Even walk-in coolers, right? They present their own type of hazard. And so maybe you want to build a section for walk-in coolers. for general building systems. So again, as far as your mind can go, you can build it because of that blue carroted drop-down, lookup field driven. Streamline comes with a full Cameo database built into it. So you can add any chemicals in inventory in that database, or if you've got some real strange ones, you can actually build and change and add your own chemicals as well. So if you're to add a chemical, we can add from a chemical database, that Cameo database, or the user's database. So to search, if I search for the word chlorine, even though I already had it entered in there, it's going to search through that entire database, and it's not only going to search on just the chemicals, but it's going to search in the category as well as the description. So you can see I've got chlorine popping up all over the place, and I just want to scroll down until I find that one chlorine that I wanted to add there. And when I click into add, it's going to bring up a full detailed screen, so I can not only have the DOT and CAS numbers, I can add notes or locations. It gives me the 704 labeling, which on the iPad and Windows application I love, and I'll show you why here in a minute. And then some storage and defined chemical inventory. Two more things real quick is going to be tanks. Some departments track their tanks, others do not. If you do, we give you the opportunity to track full tank system and information within that tied to that property. Very important for LP tanks for exposure control, or underground tanks for hazard mitigation, say at a gas station or something like that. And then lastly is another document section. So down in risk management, this is going to be like your alarm systems or extinguishing systems. Think of like plans that you might add or photographs or anything like that. They might want, again, to track into that property. So let's schedule a one-off inspection real quick. So we can go to our Windows application to show what that looks like. Streamline has the ability to really kind of control the inspections scheduling piece for you. So this is truly just scheduling off a one-off inspection. But once we have our system built up and in place, it can actually auto-schedule inspections. It can rotate them so that another inspector or another shift sees that same occupancy next year. It has the ability to schedule, automatically schedule re-inspections. So once I'm done with this inspection, if there's any violations we find, it'll reschedule those as well. So I did choose a template. So templates are going to be built and customized by the department. So if you've got a checklist currently in place, build two of those. We will build two of those checklists for you. But during our training, we'll teach you and empower you how to build those checklists yourselves, so you have full control over what your inspectors are doing in the field. Inspection notes are going to be customer facing. So you might want to say, see Betty on site. That's going to be who we coordinated this inspection with. And so if I want to throw that inspection note in there so that my inspector knows who they're supposed to talk with when they look at their tablet, they'll know. But they'll want to clear that out because it is customer facing. So you can see now that I've got that inspection scheduled. My series is not complete. So let's go to our Windows tablet. This is our Windows tablet for Streamline. So if I were to log in, this is the screen that I come into. I've got my login information here on the left-hand side. I have a menu bar that shows some different type things over here on the left that we'll walk through real quick before getting into the inspection. When I sync my tablet is the only time I need internet connection to work and do any of this product. So I can sync before I leave the station in the morning. If I've got Wi-Fi in the car, I can sync in the car. And then I don't have to sync again until I get back to quarters in the evening time and sync, and all of the work that I've done will then be pushed back to our administrative portal. So this is all accessible from the field without an internet connection. If I click on the inspections, that just toggles that tray, one tray over on and off. Sync is going to pull in any new data that I've got in my database. So I schedule that inspection before coming over to my tablet. So I'm going to hit sync now. And it's reading through the administrative portal to see what's been added or changed for this account since the last time I did this sync. And just like that, you can see that I now have the CVS inspection scheduled on my list. Refresh My Inspections is going to basically do a broader sweep of the sync. It's going to take all of the inspections off and reload them onto my tablet. So just think of it a little bit more as a reset for your inspectors portal on your tablet, where sync is just doing incremental changes. And then log out. Down in the bottom left, as we keep going through briefly, I'm in my commercial section, but you can also see that I can use this tablet for not only commercial occupancy inspections, but hydrant inspections. So if the inspectors do hydrant flushes or painting of hydrants in the field, they can use the same program to do that. And then again, community risk reduction as well. So those smoke detector blitzes. So the same application encompasses all of those. But for today's purposes, we'll just work in this commercial occupancy inspections tab. So I can do a lot of solid work using my iPad. I've recently heard that from some fire marshals that I've worked with in the Wisconsin area, that they wanted a better way to search and manage their inspections on their tablet. So you can see I've got inspections scheduled all across the country at this point from different demos and from test databases. So we have different ways to sort and look through this information on our tablet. The first and foremost is by date. So if I have the calendar here, I could just click on today's date, and it's only going to show me anything that I've got scheduled for today, which is going to be that inspection we just scheduled. If I erase the dates out, it sorts me back out to show me everything, and I want to get rid of that calendar. So then I can start searching. So say you know what road your inspection was on. Today we're going to be inspecting, say, on Olive Boulevard. You can see it right here at the top, but I've got a lot of other stuff. If I wanted to just search for Olive Boulevard, I can start typing in here in the search bar, and it's only going to pull up my inspections on Olive Boulevard. So it just kind of ignores everything else. If I delete that out and I drive up and know that I'm going to be inspecting the Wells Fargo today, if I type in the word Wells Fargo, it'll pull up just that occupancy in there. So that search bar really is extremely powerful in that it searches through most of the data sets on your list. I also have the ability to sort, whether it's sorting by occupancy name, template, status, sorting by address is an important one. We often do the inspection from one end of the block, say the 100 block to the 200 block to the 300 block. So I want to sort those by address, right? I can sort by the dates are scheduled or a scheduled date descending. Down here in the bottom, we've got what we look like pins, which are going to show us some information as well. But if I click on the blue one, it's just going to show me any inspection that I've got that is an inspection. So let's zoom in into my area where we're going to be working today, Wadesboro. And you can see that my one scheduled inspection, the pin drops on the street where it's going to be. If I deselect that and pick reinspect, it'll only show the pins that are reinspections in the area. Overdue would be red. Any incomplete inspections I've got would be orange, and any complete inspections I have would be green. So let's go ahead and do this inspection real briefly for today. So this pin shows that this is the CVS that we're going to go inspect. It shows that it's scheduled for today and the template and status. So when I view the inspection, we go into what we call review mode. I can now go through and review every aspect of this property. However, I can't edit anything at this point because, again, we're just reviewing the inspection. So we can see our properties, contacts, and history. So let's go ahead and begin so we can start editing this. You can see that these are all of those data sets that I had on the administrative portal, but now they're all on my tablet. In the top left, we've got some required fields such as the name and the inspector, the inspection type, so this is going to be annual inspection, and responsible party. Responsible party is driven by that contacts from the administrative portal, but if you don't have anybody or it has changed, you can come into this contacts tab over on the left, and you can add another contact in the field. Again, all without the internet connection. You can build a new general contact. Maybe you have a contractor that works with a lot of your occupancies. So you can build a contractor and add them very quickly by just picking them out of their database. Or we can delete that contact back out. So our responsible party in this case is going to be John Doe, so we'll collect him. Anything else in here that we need to change, we can change. And right here in the middle, you can see my inspection notes, which it says, see Betty on site. As remember, those are customer facing, so we'll go ahead and clean those up, delete those out, and leave it blank. A good use of inspections notes might be you go into an occupancy and extinguishers are say not due for testing today or this month, but they are next month. So you can write a reminder to them like extinguishers due for service next month, for example. Not a violation, friendly reminder though. Contacts, you can add and create contacts as I mentioned. And then the history section. So the history section, you can see here, we have a bunch of links. So this is the one space within the application where you do need an internet connection to pull any of these documents down. We don't pull these documents down from the cloud on purpose, and that's to keep that sync time fast. If we were to transfer all of that past data for that occupancy to the tablet, that sync time would just grow by an exorbitant amount. And so we really just want to pull down what we need. So if you want to check that floor plan, there it is. So checklists, those top three on the left are all going to be hard baked into the system. So you can see, so those are what drive that administrative portal. Everything from there is going to be built by you and for you. So all of the words, we kind of categorize it. So think of this as a hide menu button, and then we can filter our way down. So general requirements brings us to a toggle list. Electrical requirements going to bring us to a new toggle list, and so forth. So if we find a issue or something that's going on, we have our toggles. We can just quickly toggle oily rag stored in improved container, no. And then it brings up some new features. We have, if we click on our violation information, you can see that it's going to pull from code sets. So IFC, NFPA, and some state-specific code sets can all be loaded into your system for you. We would track, if it's a big, bad, hairy violation, we can change the date for the reinspection. So it's going to automatically schedule that reinspection for 30 days out. But if we wanted to reschedule, make this one, if we're going to come back tomorrow to check it, I can change the date for that one specific violation there. And you can see that with that violation, I've got this checklist to require notes. So we can put like regs were in a cardboard box. It's not proper storage at all. Exits means of egress. Let's hop in there. So let's fail that this exit door is blocked. Again, clicking on here, you can see that it's pulling from the code set. Notes required. Let's call this the east exit. And then let's add a photo. So if you're using an iPad or Windows tablet, such as the Surface Pro, that has forward-facing cameras, you can turn the cameras on and take pictures right from the iPad or the tablet. For our sake, we're going to add a picture from our photo library. So this is a very, very blocked exit. You can see here that I have the ability to immediately delete or get rid of that image if I wanted to, but we'll save it for now. Another example of what we can do is in the fire protection equipment. We can build nesting tables. So extinguishers right here in the middle. Are there portable extinguishers present? The answer is currently no. If I switch that to yes, then I get new drop downs. And so those new code sets are going to show up. You can also see that I've got something required based on that one. And down here at the bottom, these notes are required because this fire marshal set this list up. So it says this checklist was reviewed by the inspector. Notes are required if not marked yes. So I'll mark that yes, so I can get rid of that inspection. Go to this checklist, mark that inspection. And one other thing that we have the ability to do with Streamline is what we call self-certification. So if we find a minor violation that we don't really want to go back out, or we know that it's going to be fixed, and say an extension cord or a multi-plug adapter, we're going to unplug it today and then plug it right back in tomorrow. So what we do is we call self-certification. So in this case, all outlet junction boxes are covered, one uncovered in storage room. You may decide as an inspector that that's not worth your time to go back and make sure that that outlet cover is now on. So you have the ability to actually do self-certifications. What that does then is that sends them a link so that they have the opportunity to log into a web portal to say that, yes, I've fixed that violation. Permits, you can see I've got a permit from that sprinkler system install already there. I can add a new one, so we'll add a new permit. So in this case, we'll just do an aerosol permit. We'll activate it. We'll issue that permit today, and we'll call it effective today as well. Expires on currently is not editable via the field, but you can change the expiration date on the administrative portal after the inspection. Say it's only a 1 week permit. You can edit that later on. Otherwise, they're built for expiring in 1 year. As we continue to move on, we have our systems area. So you can see that I've got my fire alarm that we were talking about. I've got my reset code is *1234. So I could change that to 4321 and save that. If that code is changed, I've got all of my backup powers, department accesses, everything else. So if you're tracking any of those information, you can edit and change all of that on the iPad in the field or using the Windows tablet, and it'll push it back to the administrative portal as you sync it at the end. Delete that. It does, as you can see, we want required fields if we don't change anything. So in order to back out, we're going to go ahead and delete that and move on back out. Chemicals. This is the one that I said I really liked. I really like the 704 placarding over here on the right, because more often than not, you're dealing with that hotel manager that doesn't know what the placard looks like or should look like that you want on the door. So you can show them when you type in the word chlorine, you can say, I want this placard on this exact door. And that's as easy as that. And then tanks as well. So in our violations, we've written up 2 violations. We've got our oily regs violation, and we've got our means of egress, our exit doors blocked. If you were to click on one of those, it's going to take you right back to that point in the checklist, so you don't have to go searching for it. We also have the ability to add additional violations. So with additional violations, these checklists are maybe your top 100 violations, right? And that'll cover you 99% of the time. But as the inspector, you know that there's a violation in the code book that has to do something with wall breaches. So if you type the word wall in that search, it's going to search through code sets that you've got built into your system, and you can click on that I next to it and be like, yes, that's exactly the code set that I wanted to add, or violation, and you can now add that violation. So the system will add any other violations that you want it to. And then again, you can check it and delete it off should you have accidentally done something. More options in the bottom left corner as we continue working from top to bottom on that left side is going to be no entry logs. So say it's that lawn care company, right? I've been there 10 times and I haven't gotten in. I know they're out mowing the yard all the time. But you can track no entry logs, so that way you can at least see we've attempted to go through here. I can change an occupancy to vacant. If I change the property to vacant, it's going to change my checklists over here on the left-hand side because I can't check for extinguishers and electrical boxes. But I can check to make sure that the building is still addressable, if there's power supplied, things like that. So it'll change my checklist and then also change the building classification if I were to change that. If we were just showed up and they couldn't do the inspection today, I'd have the ability to reschedule. And then we also have the ability to mark no score if you're an agency that uses a scoring-based system. At the end, if we were to complete the inspection now, we'll get a couple of codes. And that's by design. So it shows that inspector signature is required. Okay, thank you for reminding me. So I go to my inspector signature. I can sign that. It pulls from that inspector in the main section. And then we need a customer signature. So it's going to pull from that responsible party. So I can just do JD, or if I clear that, a best practice we've got going on if you're working somewhere, say a rough-in permit inspection, where you don't need to require a signature. A best practice I learned from a fire marshal down south was they're using NSR for no signature required, and then he's just having his inspectors use the letters NSR in the signature box. But something has to be in that box in order for it to successfully clear the inspection. portal after the fact, but not from the tablet. So let's go back to Wadesboro now, and you can see now that my CVS inspection is now green for complete. And so I've got that orange dot next to sync. So I'm going to go ahead and sync that back to my administrative portal. And this does a multitude of things when it syncs at the end of the day or when you get back to internet connection. So it's pushing back and updating that administrative portal, that cloud. It's also firing off emails to the responsible party of record for that occupancy. You can set the system up so it's going to send an email back to the fire marshal's office if the fire marshal wants to get a copy of every single violation report that goes out. You can set it to send an email to another carbon copy. So maybe it's to the inspector. They get a copy of that record, and it reschedules or it schedules any re-inspections that are needed. And you can actually set the system up so then it would actually schedule that inspection again for a year from today. So you can see that automatically rescheduled or scheduled that re-inspection down here. I now have a purple one for CVS. That re-inspection is now scheduled for September 27th and going forward. I heard an email come in, so let's check my email box and see what we've got, see what that inspection looks like. So this is the example of the inspection report. I've got Anytown Fire Department. This is my inspection report that has the annual fire inspections. I've got my permits that were filed on while I was doing that inspection for that aerosol that was effective today. And then if I move over to my report, this top third's built by the system, and then the middle third section of language is actually customized by you. So if you've got re-inspection fee schedules, you want to add what code set you're working from, that kind of stuff, it's all stored there. The inspector is signed here, the responsible party signature is attached, and then from page 2 on are going to be examples of the violations. So you can see that picture I added of that blocked exit, along with the code language, and as well as the oily rags violation. When we do re-inspections, this document, the only thing that changes is these words here and here. So instead of saying not violation not repaired, this changes to repaired, and this section says violation repaired on. It doesn't get rid of the violation, right? The violation was still there, we still found it, we still need to track it for trends, and so whenever you find that violation within Streamline and correct it, it doesn't go away. We keep it forever, so you can slowly track and trend that information. And if we go back to our administrative portal one more time for the inspections area, I just refreshed that screen because you can now see that that inspection was completed on 8/28. The series is not completed because I do have a re-inspection scheduled to go forward at this point. And that's a very, very quick high-level overview of what we've got to go for from Streamline, from our properties grid to scheduling a one-off inspection to performing it on the iPad to coming back and seeing that inspection here on the administrative portal. There's a lot more to see with Streamline, but that's where you can reach out to Justin or Damien or myself to learn more. But we can dig into complexes, permits, how you can track those self-certification inspections, community risk reduction efforts, and even hydrants.
Great, Eric. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you doing the demo this afternoon. If anybody has any questions after seeing the demo, please feel free to contact us at streamlineas.com, or feel free to call our office at 888-640-7222. Thanks a lot, Eric. Appreciate it. We'll talk to everybody soon.